The All Traffic Report lists all the sources sending traffic to our website. This includes referrals, search engine traffic, pay per click traffic, and direct traffic. And this is a helpful report because we can identify which sources are performing the best and which are performing the worst. And most important, we can start to figure out why this is. Let's discuss the channels report first. This is located in the acquisition group under all traffic in the left-hand menu. So just like all reports, we have the time period we can change in the top right-hand corner. And then we can add in some segments if we wish to filter the data. In the middle of the screen is our graph, but let's scroll down to the table below. The first thing we should look at is the highest traffic drivers. For me, that's referral. And it accounts for roughly 58% of all of our traffic. And then direct, then paid search, which are about even. Organic search is about 10%, and social is barely even registering. So right away, we have some things to consider. First, social media is a huge, important part of our culture. Is there a reason we're not receiving any traffic from it? Well, first of all, I can tell you that for this site, we're not really doing much in the way of social media. So it makes sense that our social media referrals are so low. But I really should consider if it might be a good idea to start incorporating social media into our marketing campaign. I'm sure I could boost those numbers greatly with just a little bit of effort. One way to help determine if social media would be a good idea to start incorporating is by looking at the bounce rate, which at 60% is actually quite low for the site. And though the amount of sessions in this time period is quite small, it is statistically pretty insignificant. What I'll do is expand my time period to see if the bounce rate stays the same over a longer time. Okay, so still not a lot of traffic with only 46 sessions, but the bounce rate is staying about the same. So at least it's a bit larger view to look at, and this definitely leads me to believe that we should put more emphasis on social because the traffic is high quality. I'm going to go back to the original time period again, and one thing we can do is change the table up a little bit. If we select the site average graph, which is the fourth button option on the right of the table, this gives us a little bit better perspective about how these channel groupings compare overall to our site average. And in the drop-down above the graph, we can choose some different options. Sessions is up now, but let's change this to bounce rate. And what I notice here confirms what we saw before. The social bounce rate is way less than our site average of 81%. So is the organic search. What's dragging my average up considerably is the paid search bounce rate. We already discussed that I need to look at making sure the paid advertisements are sending people to landing pages that have relevant information to what they were searching for. We can also bring in pages per session. And what I see here is that our average pages per session is right around 1.5. But in this case, organic search and social is absolutely killing this compared to the site average. And once again, paid search is dragging this way down. So while our paid traffic is pretty low quality, the organic search and social quality is very high, or at least it appears to be. What we know is that visitors from social and organic channels are clicking on more pages, and this could be a really good sign, showing us that those visitors are interested in our content. Or it could also mean those visitors are confused and are clicking around to figure out the information that they were originally trying to find. This is why it's good to continue exploring. You can't really take anything at face value yet because there are still some variables that can't be accounted for. What we want to do is bring in multiple data points to help us bring validity to our conclusions. If we have conversions set up, we could also take a look at which channels are bringing in the traffic that's converting the most. The next thing I want to do is bring in a secondary dimension. Let's go back to the last graph view, and we'll do that by selecting the leftmost icon above the table. And let's bring in landing pages. This will help us take a look at where traffic is first interacting with our site. And I'll choose the dropdown, and then type landing page into the search bar, and then select it. And now that we have the landing page dimension in play, I can start to see where our channels are going to and what's happening to the visitors once they get there. The first thing that strikes me is the paid search. I have two, line 3 that's going to the VGT landing page, and a second, line 9, that's going to the whole set landing page. And right away you can see that basically 100% of the traffic leaves these landing pages without going anywhere else. This tells me that the landing pages are not doing a good enough job, and I have some ideas why this might be. As an aside, there's a service called Hotjar.com, which allows you to view how people interact with your pages. You can literally follow their mouses around. And I can use Hotjar to learn how people are viewing my landing pages, which could help me craft something that's more suited to their needs. The other thing I noticed is that organic search that goes to the front page of the website has a really low bounce rate. So people searching for the site are getting exactly what they want, it seems. It also has the highest pages per session. We can also look at the percentage of new users. And for organic search going to the home page, the percentage is fairly high. So this is another good sign that users who have never been to our site before are searching for something that interests them. And Google is sending them to our homepage, and it's giving them relevant information. But the most telling statistic to me is the bounce rate, and I'm learning valuable information about my landing pages. I'd like to take a second to say that though my landing pages are not performing well, I'm not really angry about this. I'm happy that I have Google Analytics to use as a tool to improve my site, my landing pages, and how my site interacts with viewers. Knowing something is wrong gives me the opportunity to fix it. Let's talk about bounce rate a bit more. Let's say we would like to view bounce rate and how it relates to channels and landing pages so we can fix our worst ones. Well, we could sort by bounce rate, which I'll do now. But since there are so many 1 and 2 session channels, this doesn't really tell me too much because I don't really need to waste too much time on such low traffic unless I see that it's perhaps the same culprit page for each. And this site is a bit of an anomaly anyway because we're not getting too much traffic overall. You'll probably see more on yours. But let's say we don't want to see data from such a small amount of sessions. What we can do is bring in a filter. So we'll go up to Advanced and choose Sessions. And let's say we only want to see channels that have more than 5 sessions. You would probably choose a higher number yourself, but like I said, the site gets limited traffic, so that's what we're going to do for ours. And then hit Apply, and now the table changes to reflect the filter. And we can start to see some of the problem pages, most notably the 2 landing pages from our paid search. With this filter, sorting the data both by bounce rate and sessions greater than X amount, you can really get a sense of how our channel groupings are playing into our high bounce rate. In my case, the paid search landing pages are not cutting it. The number 1 culprit of high bounce rates from sessions over 5 is coming from the paid search ad and going to the product landing page whole set. When you add in a secondary dimension and use filters, you get more specific data to identify site issues that might be impacting the performance of the site and marketing campaign. Use the channel report to take a look at how these channel groupings are impacting users, their behavior, and the quality of your traffic as it relates to your site. The next thing I want to look at is navigating the all traffic reports using Source Medium. This is located under Acquisition and All Traffic in the left-hand menu. Choose Source Medium. As you can see, this report looks pretty similar to the others. Once again, we have the date range in the top right-hand corner, a graph in the center defaulted to all sessions, and then if we scroll down, we can see the table. I want to start with the table view. We just looked at how to navigate all traffic reports using channels, and this is a bit different. We're looking at all the incoming traffic sorted by source medium, so where it's coming from, the source, and its general category, the medium. The source and medium report is going to give us a more close-up view of where our traffic's coming from, and then if we want, we can also apply different dimensions or filters to understand things like when people come from a particular source or medium, where they are headed, or what they're doing. Just like other tables we've looked at, the basics are here. We can see the source medium dimensions in the left-hand column, which is currently sorted by the most sessions in our selected time period to the least. Then percentage of new sessions, new users, bounce rate, and pages per session, etc. Earlier, we used bounce rate to identify problems with our landing pages, and we can apply that same logic to the source and medium level. But let's take another look at this. First of all, I like to take a glance at the sources that are driving most of my traffic. And first is direct, followed by Google paid campaigns, then referral from the site directly, and organic search. Then I have referrals from places I can't readily identify, and if the sources are big enough, it may make sense to dive into them a bit more. What I notice right off is that I get good Google traffic, but I don't see Bing or Yahoo at all. If we scroll down to the bottom, we can actually see that there are more pages of data available. So I'll scroll to the next group of 10. And we can always add rows if we'd like to see more on the same page. Now I see Bing, which is located on the 17th line. So it's the 17th highest source, and it happens to be a referral. So that means to me, it's an organic search using Bing. At less than 1%, this is a very low percentage of our overall traffic. So it's definitely an area that I can improve things. I've known for a while that Bing wasn't even crawling our site, so it wasn't showing up at all on a Bing search. And I fixed that a few months ago, but now I should look into SEO or search engine optimization for Bing. I'll have to take a look at Bing's best practices for SEO and just make some adjustments to the site. And even though Bing is not as popular as Google, it can definitely still account for a much higher percentage of our traffic than it currently does. And this is something free that we can do to boost our traffic besides, a little bit of time and effort. Another thing I noticed on this page is we are getting some referral traffic. It's light, but still traffic from CummonsForum.com and DSMTuners.com, which are lines number 14 and 18 respectively. And this is interesting to me because we sell a couple products that both sites are interested in, and they are linking to us, which is a good sign. So I may want to look into this a bit further to see if it's possible to get more traffic from each. And also, if I look at the bounce rate for both, it's 100%. So there must be a way to lower that, to at least just a little bit. And to do that, I would need to find out where these sources are landing on our site, so I can look at adjusting the information on those landing pages to make it more appealing for visitors that come from those two sources. And the good news is we can do this. As we saw earlier, it's possible to add in landing pages as a secondary dimension. So let's do that again now. Just go to secondary dimension and I'll enter landing page into the search bar, and here it is. Now, let's try to find those two sources, Cummins and DSM Tuners, on the second page. And here they are, rows 15 and 20. Okay. Traffic from Cummins is being directed to the product page for the Turbo Commander, which is the product Cummins Forum users would be interested in. This is actually good because what this means is this landing page, it's a product page, and it's really where I would want this traffic to ultimately end up. Even though the bounce rate is so high, I'm not overly concerned with that because this is the last page I would want them to see before they leave. But what I should do is start tracking conversions so that I can tell if we are making sales from referral traffic from Cummins Forum. Then we have a similar situation with DSM Tuners, except this source is sending people to our home page, and this is not the most relevant page for visitors that come from this source. DSM viewers are probably interested in the same product as visitors from Cummins. What I need to do is investigate how they are linking to us and see if it's possible to link visitors to the Turbo Commander product page instead. But I should also start tracking conversions so I can see if any of this traffic is converting. And that's what we ultimately want to know. What sources are providing us traffic that purchase our products? Because without tracking conversions, what we don't know is how effective our product page is at converting those customers. And do we need different product pages or landing pages depending on the source? Because folks from different sources could be interested in different things about the same product. We can also click into a particular source. I'll go back to the first page and click into Google CPC. And now I can look at this source over time. Things of interest would be any peaks or if the trend is going up or down over time. In my case, things are pretty flat with a couple peaks. I don't think there's anything too odd about what's going on. If I wanted to see a longer time period to try to identify any trends, I could adjust the time period at the top. But basically, I'm just looking for why things are happening. And if I see anything anomalous, I would try to figure out why. And then if it's positive, try to do more of it. And if negative, try to reverse it if it might have a significant enough impact. Let's go back and look at some other elements of the source and medium report. We still have our secondary dimension landing pages showing. And I want to mention that we can sort this information by different columns if we're interested in that. Right now, the default is sort by sessions, but we can sort by new users by selecting the column. And what that does is bring in the most popular source and mediums at that quantity of new users. Sometimes this can get a little complicated when we've added in the extra dimension. So what we can do is filter this down a little bit. Maybe what I'd like to see is only sources going to specific landing pages. I'll choose the landing page VGT. How we filter that is with the Advanced filter right above the right-hand side of the table. And we'll click on Advanced. See, Google is already anticipating that I would want to filter by a specific landing page, so I don't need to change the dimension. And then I'll just keep it on Contains and add VGT, and then hit Apply. And now the table is showing my sources that are sending traffic to this specific landing page, and this is sorted by the source with the most new users. And in this case, it happens to be the paid search ads. I can remove the filter by clicking on the X. Then, if we want, we can change the primary dimensions by clicking on Source, Medium, Keywords, etc. If I land on Medium, we can see that there are only 4 mediums to choose from, and those are Referral, CPC, which is the paid search, None, which is really direct, and Organic. We can use the source medium report to get more specific information about our traffic. So once we identify how a channel is performing, we can step into this report to identify where within a particular channel traffic is originating from. Let's say we do a cooperative marketing campaign with another business. Maybe they link to our website. It would be interesting for us to know if that relationship is giving us any extra traffic. And we can do that with the source medium report. So we come to the source medium report to find out information on the origin of traffic. To make it easier, I want to point out that we can always use the search bar above the table to find a particular source. I didn't see Yahoo in my travels around the table, so let's look for it now. And there's a good reason for it. We didn't get any referral traffic from Yahoo in this time period. I should look into this because we should be getting at least a little bit, maybe 2 or 3% of our traffic, I would think at least. Okay, so that is the source and medium reports. The next thing I want to go through is the referrals report. The top of the report looks similar, so let's scroll down to the table view to take a look at what's going on. Here, in the left-hand column, we see the source of our referrals. Source is the primary dimension that's opened, and referring sites just mean sites that link to us. Google Analytics can detect incoming visits from a link, and then it records that down as the referring site. Now, there is a bit of an issue with referral tracking. Google can track referrals very well if the links are just plain HTML links. I'm not going to get into this, but if you use redirects or JavaScript built into your links, sometimes that can break the tracking, and we might lose some referral information. In that case, most of the time the referrals end up in the direct traffic bucket, but most often the referrals do show up on the referrals report. The first thing you might say is, okay, well, these are the referring sites, but where are they sending traffic to? And an option is to select landing page as a primary dimension here at the top of the page. And here we can identify where most of the traffic is arriving. Primarily, it's the home page. When you see a /, it denotes the home page because every other section of the website should have words written after the /. But what this doesn't do is show us which of the referrers are driving traffic to which page. To do that, as we've done before, we need to bring in landing pages as a secondary dimension. So I'll go back to the source primary dimensions and add in landing pages as a secondary dimension. And here we are. So things get a bit more interesting now. We can see, sorted by most sessions to least sessions, what our referring sources are by landing page. And as we knew from before, the home page is the most popular. But that is true not just from one source like an organic search, it's true from multiple sources, like AliExpress and others. We're also getting traffic from our own site as well. Next, say we want to know where exactly our referrals are coming from, not just the website, but also the page on that website. Maybe someone has written a blog post and mentioned us, or someone is referring to one of our products. This would be interesting to know, right? Well, we do that by changing up the secondary dimension to what's known as referral path. And I'm going to scoot over to the second page to show you some examples. And we do that by selecting the right arrow key on the bottom. Now we can see the exact pages our referrals are coming from. Let's look at row 11. This is CummonsForum.com again. Under the column referral path, we can see that this is the exact page on Cummins Forum that is referring to our site. And if we entered CummonsForum.com and the / and the rest of the URL from referral path into a web browser, we would land on the referring page. That's pretty neat. Another thing we can do, and it's almost the same but just with a small twist, is change the secondary dimension to full refer. And what this does is add in the entire URL to the full referrer column. That way, we can just copy the whole thing and paste it into a browser. And this is a blog post about our product that is linking to our website. So that's it for the all traffic reports. I know we covered a lot in this video, but as you can see, these reports really offer some valuable acquisition information. And hopefully you now have a pretty good idea how to find information that would be relevant to your business.